If and when Erik Karlsson gets traded, who's going to run the power play? Look at potential in-house options, some free agents, and I present the Chaos Theory on today's episode of Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now and Inside the Rink. And I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Again, proudly a part of the Locked On Network, where we cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everyday, all you got to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch this on YouTube as well. And we're going to be discussing the Sharks power play, especially if Erik Karlsson's gone. So I'm going to explain how important Karlsson was to the Sharks power play this year, and then look at some potential in-house options, some potential free agents, and then my favorite is the chaos approach to try to solve who could help fill in the void of Karlsson on the power play. But before we get into that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you guys by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. And this is an article I wrote for Inside the Rink over the weekend. I wanted to do it early this week, but Filip Zadina signed, so I had to discuss that. But Erik Karlsson was very, very important to the Sharks power play, and the Sharks power play was not super great last year, right? They finished like near the bottom when it came to actual scoring. They actually didn't get a ton of minutes, power play minutes. They were one of the lowest. I think they ended up being sixth lowest among power play opportunities and power play minutes. But Erik Karlsson was important to that. He played, so the Sharks last year got 376 minutes of power play time last year, the fourth fewest, okay? Karlsson played 277 of those minutes, approximately 73% of the Sharks power play minutes. Erik Karlsson was on the ice for them. So he was sixth most among defensemen. And again, the Sharks had the fourth fewest power play minutes last year. Vegas actually was worse in the league, fun fact. But Karlsson, when the Sharks were on a power play, Karlsson was out there, and we know Karlsson would play the first unit and a lot of times would bleed into the second unit because they didn't really have anybody else. Matt Benning was kind of the guy for the Sharks when it came to running power play too, for the most part. So if Erik Karlsson leaves, or when Erik Karlsson leaves, if and when, you're going to have to fill a huge void of those minutes, and it'll probably be much more even between your first power play and your second power play, right? Erik Karlsson, the Sharks don't have anybody on the team who is going to command, at least in the blue line, who's going to command the Erik Karlsson minutes and can prove that his ability to create out there. So you're going to see a completely different power play without Erik Karlsson. So I think, looking at how the power play is going to be divided up. So right now, my kind of really rough estimate of power play 1 and power play 2, probably Couture, Hertl, Duclair, Eklund on power play 1 with a defenseman to be named later. And then power play 2, Bear, Banoff, Peterson, LeBanc, Zadina would be kind of my guess right now as of August or July 11th. With a quarterback kind of to be named later for whoever kind of wins the job out of there. So let's start with looking at some of the in-house candidates, right? And of course, the first name that you would think of, or maybe not the first name, but the second most minutes played on the power play last year was Matt Benning. He played 63 minutes last year, and we know Matt Benning is much more of a defensive defenseman. Had a really nice year with San Jose last year, and for him, he actually set a team high in points last year with 24 points. But one single point came of that was on the power play. Again, not a lot of opportunities, especially with Karlsson kind of being the guy. But Matt Benning, I think, would kind of get the first crack, right? Especially being a right-handed shot on the power play. And I think you would see a much different, power play where it's probably going to be more of the forwards creating, and then Benning is trying to keep the honest with his shot, while Karlsson, right? We know Karlsson is just doing magician Karlsson things of, fake shots and his passing. And I think it would be a little bit more kind of meat and potatoes type of power play with Matt Benning on it. And while I don't think he is the best option, I think he would definitely get a shot, at least first crack at it, if I had to guess, just especially if they don't bring anyone else in if and when Erik Karlsson gets traded. But Matt Benning, like I said, he had the most second most power play minutes, and his fancy numbers aren't super great. He did his goals for per 60 and expected goals per 60 are bad on the power play. Granted, that power play 2 unit was a patchwork of warm bodies. We know the power play 1 really got, of a 2 minutes of power play, the power play 1 unit probably got 90 seconds of it. And then it's everybody get out there and just, give the rest of the guys a break type of situation. So I think without Karlsson, I wonder with Quinn if he's going to, I assume Quinn is going to have to be much more evenly balanced between the power plays and try to give both of them a chance instead of just running out power play 1. If you guys don't score, then we're probably not going to score on this power play anyway type of situation. But I think that's what you would see without Karlsson. So Matt Benning is your first candidate. Your second candidate, Mario Ferraro, left-handed shot, so power play would be a little bit different with him on the point. And Ferraro, it's interesting because he really hasn't taken that offensive step that we would expect, especially from what we saw as a rookie pre-COVID, and we saw some of that offensive flashes. And I know Ferraro has been asked too many times, especially under Bob Bugner, where you're playing the heavy minutes with Brent Burns and having to be a shutdown defenseman, and that's not really Mario Ferraro's game. He is. I think he thrives better when he is kind of if he's your fourth defenseman type of player. And I don't know. We haven't seen the offense, especially last year when you thought this could be, Brent Burns is traded. We don't know what we're going to get from Karlsson. Granted, we got 101 points out of Erik Karlsson in a Norris Trophy, but we thought last year, new system. We know David Quinn we've seen defensemen have, much better seasons under David Quinn. And Ferraro didn't really take that jump last year that a lot of us expected and hoped for out of him. And I don't know if by now, if you're entering year 5 of Mario Ferraro, if he's ever going to find that game. And that's fine. But I think it's tough to ask a player like Mario Ferraro, who hasn't shown that offense, to now you need to be quarterback 1. And maybe he's a QB2 or, on the power play, running the power play 2. But I think I would rather go in a different direction than Mario Ferraro if it was me personally. And at least give those opportunities to a younger player who is still figuring out their role. And before we look at some of those younger players who are now on the roster or potentially on the roster, and look at some players who aren't on the Sharks roster and see if they could be potential fits to at least help with the power play. And of course, the chaos approach. Let's take a quick break. Talk to you guys about our friends over at Birddogs. And you guys know the weather outside is beautiful. You want to show off those legs. You want some shorts that fit whatever activity you're doing, right? If you're like me, You guys have heard it before. You'll hear it again Saturday mornings, right? This last Saturday, I had a coach for my oldest. The coach wasn't there, so I had to fill in and be the coach for 5-year-olds, 5 and 6-year-olds playing soccer, which also meant being the ref. Then there's running errands afterwards, cooking on the grill. I needed some shorts that could fulfill all my needs and keep me looking good, keep me looking slimmer, which I could really use the help with. That's where Birddogs came in. They do everything that Lululemon does, but they fit way better. They have anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long, especially here in the Central Valley where it gets like 110 during the summer. I need that keeping you cool and dry all day long. They look great. Like I said, I wear every weekend. I really enjoy the kind of built-in underwear to make sure that things aren't kind of sticky and things aren't kind of squished together, if you know what I mean. So right now, go get yourself a pair of Birddogs. I promise you will enjoy them. And if you go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL, enter the promo code LockedOnNHL, you'll get a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL with promo code LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. All right, so some of the younger players who I think would have to earn their opportunity, but there's still the mystery box, right? It could be anything. It could be a boat. It could be a power play 1/4 specialist. So one is Henry Thrun. So Henry Thrun at Harvard, he ran the power play for Harvard last year, and Harvard's power play was really, really good. They ended up being the 9th best power play in the country at 24.3% conversion rate. And we know Henry Thrun has been hanging out with David Quinn since the moment he signed with San Jose, right? Throwing right on the Sharks. Also spent the summer playing in world championships with David Quinn, who was a coach, was at development camp this year working on those skills, right? And I think Henry Thrun is a potential dark horse to be your power play specialist, run the power play. He's done it at Harvard. I know it's a big step going from college to NCAA, but he looked very much in control and looked like a NHL player last year. And now with a full summer, again, working with David Quinn, you see his vision, you see his ability to kind of think the game. And I think he could at least hold down the fort for a little while the Sharks kind of try to figure this out. And maybe kind of you develop the skills so that way when you have a more offensive defenseman who can run your power play later, at least Henry Thrun can fill in as your power play 2 if somebody gets hurt, whatever. I think Henry Thrun has a potential for it, and especially if you have guys like we know exactly like Couture and Hertl and Barabano has been in the system long enough, and I know Duclair and Eklund are going to be kind of newer pieces. At least Eklund's been in the system, right? He's been with the Sharks the Sharks and Barracuda for a year, and he's been part of this is going to be year 3 for Eklund in total. And Duclair is is a veteran. Like he can make things work. I think with the pieces around it helping out, I think Thrun could be a potential guy who could, at least make the power play work for a little bit. Will it be special? Probably not, but it could be competent. And I think for the Sharks being competent-ish, which would be kind of around 20th, I think 20 to 15, if you're in that range, I feel like you're competent enough, especially with some of the pieces that they've added. I know losing Karlsson and Timo are huge, but I think it's going to be much deeper. It's probably not as top heavy, and I think it'll be a much deeper power play unit this year. The second power play will actually have real live bodies instead of your Nick Bonitos of the world. So, but having a Henry Thrun with some of those veteran guys who can kind of help the mistakes and kind of keep things moving on the power play would be a way to go. And then another potential guy is a newly signed player, Leon Gawanke, who the Sharks traded for Artemi Knyzev. So last year, Gawanke on the Manitoba Moose, the Manitoba Moose in the AHL were fifth fifth in the entire AHL in the power play, scoring at 22.5% clip. And he was a big part of that. He's also a right-handed shot. Jacob Stoller had a really nice kind of like little game card that he creates for the AHL. And power play goals, he was in the 96th percentile for doing that. He's 6'2", 24-year-old right-handed defenseman who can create some offense. And Gawanke, especially if Karlsson's gone, there's going to be a huge opportunity for a player like Gawanke who can provide offense. And, for him to maybe he's your third pairing defenseman, but he's your power play one because he creates offense. And with his shot and his ability to score and create assists, he is a really big potential player for the Sharks. And I loved Artemi Knyzhov, but I think Gawanke, maybe he has got a little bit more pop, at least offensively, than Knyzhov did. And I think Knyzhov's a little bit more of a two-way defenseman, but you still need somebody who can run the power play. And Knyzhov really didn't. He had a couple opportunities with the Barracuda, but never really was able to show it right. It was Pouliot for the majority of the season, and then when Muka Madulin got there, Muka Madulin was running the power play for the Barracuda. Knyzhov was kind of the power play two, so I think it's a lot to go from power play two guy on the Barracuda to power play one for the Sharks for Knyzhov. So, but Gawanke, I think that is, especially if Karlsson gets traded, I think Gawanke is a huge candidate to make the Sharks out of training camp and be their running their power play, because he's done it very well in the AHL level. And I think with his ability to shoot, again, he led all defensemen in the AHL with goals last year and was top 10 with actual scoring. So that would be the guy who I would expect. So outside the Sharks, so we've heard the Matt Dumba rumors, right? Especially if the Sharks trade Erik Karlsson. Matt Dumba is still sitting out there as a potential free agent. And I get the leadership and everything Matt Dumba brings. But if you look at his power play the past couple of years, it has really decreased. He played 10 power play minutes last year for the Minnesota Wild. And he has seen his power play time decrease over the last 4 seasons to last year, where like I said, he played 10 power play minutes in the entire season. And they weren't very particular effective when he was doing that. His goals for above 60 and his expected goals for above 60 were basically worse than what we saw from Matt Benning. And Matt Benning played 6 times more than Matt Dumba. So I get it. He has scored a lot. He scored 48, or he's had 26 career power play goals. He's had 48 assists on the power play throughout his career. But I just don't think Matt Dumba in the year of our Lord 2023 should be your power play quarterback. I would rather play a guy like Gawanke, who's 24 and is still developing, and is going to be will be making his NHL debut this year. You've seen him run a power play, granted in the AHL, but you've seen him run it more frequently and more efficiently, and much more recent than we have with Matt Dumba. So I would be very hesitant if the Sharks do sign Matt Dumba to just give him the keys to the car with the power play. Maybe he turns back the clock. Again, he's only 28. Who knows? David Quinn works his magic with the defenseman, as we've seen. But I would be very hesitant to just let Matt Dumba run out there and run the power play. Like I said, I would rather kind of see one of the younger guys. So before I look at another potential free agent, and then also really quick with Dumba. So if you wanted to sign him to, maybe a 1-year deal to kind of hold things down, 1-year deal involving hockey is projected at a little over $3 million. And maybe it takes a little bit less right now, especially since we're this deep into free agency and he still hasn't been signed. I'm I would rather save that money for a rainy day. And by rainy day, I mean the trade deadline. So before, though, we get into my chaos theory and another younger free agent who I would be more willing to kind of at least get a shot. So before we do that, do need to take a quick break. Talk to you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. And if you want to take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel, you can get 10 times your first bet amount and bonus bets back. That's up to $200. So bet $20 on anything, right? Maybe if you think the Giants coming out of the All-Star break, think they're going to go on a nice winning streak here, or maybe you want to bet on Ohtani hitting a home run, or when Aaron Judge when Ohtani and Judge get back hitting home runs, or whatever you feel like you think is going to be a winner. You bet $20, you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend on betting everything from the money line, over under, who you think is going to get the first home run, all an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockdown to get $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockdown. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. All right, so one other free agent might be a little bit under the radar type of guy. That's Caleb Jones. So Seth Jones' younger brother, Caleb Jones, free agent right now. He is 26, just turned 26, left-handed. I know the Sharks need another left-handed defenseman, like they need a hole in their head, but he's played left and right hand on both sides. 6'1", 194 pounds. He's drafted by Edmonton, played on the Blackhawks last year, and his numbers, not too shabby, especially when you look at the team. Remember, the Blackhawks, poo-poo player team, but offensively, he was good offensively and provided a lot. Like his expected goals 4/60, his Corsi a lot. Like he was good offensively, they just didn't score, right? And we know the Blackhawks, bad team. They got shut out a bunch last year, and they were one breakaway away from being fourth, and the Sharks getting third, and then the Sharks having Connor Bedard. But Caleb Jones, power play. Ran the second unit power play again, kind of like the Sharks last year, where they just didn't have enough bodies. So he produced a positive expected goals for and Corsi for. They just didn't score, right? So if you look at his in 113 minutes last year, he had positive results there. They just couldn't score because of the players around him. Of course, Seth Jones is going to get the majority of the minutes, but Caleb Jones, I think, is a player where you kind of take a swing on him, right? He has 7 career power play points, and I know hasn't scored a bunch on the power play, but he hasn't really had a lot of opportunity. And I think this is a guy where you could sign to a 1-year deal, bring him in, give him an opportunity at least, especially in a team right now with the Sharks where you are trying to turn over every rock, turn over every acorn to try to find some players who can help you in the future, or at least be assets for you at a later point. And Caleb Jones could be one of those guys. His projected contract on a 1-year deal is $2 million. Again, we're pretty late in the free agency now, so maybe you can get him on a really hey, come to San Jose. You're going to get plenty of playing opportunity. You're probably going to be our power play 1 guy. Why don't you come sign for $1 million or $1 million, 1.25 type of thing. And then if an opportunity rises, we'll be more than happy to trade you to a potential, a playoff caliber team. You have not played on many, many good teams in your I know you played on some of the Blackhawks or some of the Oilers teams, but give you an opportunity to go play on a potential playoff caliber team in the future. So, again, do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But just a name, I think is better. I'd rather play Caleb Jones than Matt Dumba, at least on the power play. At least give him a shot. So finally, the chaos theory. just play 5 forwards. We saw it with the Barracuda last year, right? Derek Poole got hurt his elbow middle of the season. The Barracuda, what do? They ran 5 forwards out there because those are their 5 best players. And if you could run out there. If you wanted, you could run Hertl, Couture, Duclair, Eklund. You could run Zadina. You could run Barabanov. You could run LeBanc. You could run out there Peterson. Like, that's 8 names, right? That you could kind of rotate. And instead of just having like a power play 1 and power play 2, you just kind of almost like a shift change, right? You just kind of rotate guys as guys start to get tired. You just kind of keep things moving and rotating out there. And because the Sharks are going to be bad, at least have fun with it. Try it out. Anthony Duclair was on the Panthers. The Panthers ran 5 forwards. He was part of that unit that ran 5 forwards at the end of the 21-22 season, and they found success. When it hit the playoffs, granted, it fell apart in the playoffs, and they went like 0 for 25, I think, on the power play at some point. But they found success with it beforehand, and again, it's just something to try, especially for a team that is probably going to be really bad again. At least one of those things you could potentially have in your arsenal for a rainy day type later on. But I would try it. What's the worst that happens? You give up a shorthanded goal. Cool. That gets us one step closer to winning, getting the first overall pick type of player. But you can have Logan Couture kind of play your defense. Like, Couture could play your on the point, let him kind of be the defensive guy, right? We know he can cover defensively. Let him, and then just everyone just keep it moving. No one's like a facility. You can let Eklund kind of cook, right? Using his vision and his passing to find open players. Hertl, net front presence. I just want to see it. Okay, even if it's preseason, something. Let's see 5 forwards out there. Come on, David Gwynn. I know you guys are listening. Let's see 5 forwards out there. Just because, what else? What do you have to lose for it? So give me the chaos approach at least once. I just want to see it one time this season. I want to see the 5 forwards out there just because it'd be fun. If you're down like 2 goals and late in the game and you get a power play, give me the 5 forwards because I don't trust any other guys. So if I had to rank the in-house guys who I'd want to see, I think Gvante could be a potential. That would be my first guy. Then I would go Henry Thrun, Matt Benning, and Mario Ferraro. If I had to rank them, which order I'd want to see the defenseman. We don't need to see Vlasic. See, a friend of the program, famous tweet of theirs of Vlasic. What was it? It's Mr. Rogers painting, and it says, "I'm not very good, but at least I give it a shot." And their tweet was Vlasic running the power play. I'm going to retweet it tonight because it's an amazing tweet. So I don't need to see that. Like Šimik, no. Šimik does have a good shot, but like Šimik's going to be a borderline to even make the team. Like none of the other guys really intrigue me. So this is at least the way I rank them. I think Gawanke, especially if Karlsson's gone, I think Gawanke is going to make the Sharks, and I think he would be your power play guy. So that'll be it for me tonight. Be back tomorrow. Billy Sullivan is going to be joining the show. Billy Sullivan is a scout for the London Knights and also owns Sullivan. I believe it's called Sullivan Hockey. I'll have it right for you for the interview. Who trains Quentin Musty and Brandon Svoboda. So he is their trainer. He works with these guys. So he's going to come on. We're going to talk about what he sees from them, kind of some behind the scenes stuff, what type of guys the Sharks are getting in Musty and Svoboda. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts, and you can watch on YouTube as well. You can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter and Threads at MyFryhole. And until tomorrow, bye, friends.